in this video, I want to share with you 9 things that I actually stopped spending money on and that hopefully will also help you to maybe save a little bit of money that you can then use to grow your net worth over time. And the first one is insurances. Now, let's be honest, we're all probably being bombarded all the time with all the various insurances that we need in order to stay safe, healthy, and what have you, right? And I mean, I understand that obviously they're really playing on the fear of not having an insurance, what will happen, right? The big amounts that you would have to pay if you don't have an insurance. And obviously it depends where you live, right? It's hard to generalize, but myself, living in Europe, now having relocated also to Dubai, it depends a little bit. In America, it might be a different story. But for my case, I actually saw how little I actually spent on things I may have needed an insurance for. And I didn't spend anything, hardly. I mean, touch wood, right? But at the same time, you never know, right? There might be a huge expense. So I understand a health insurance is one thing I definitely have, but there's so many other insurances like life insurances, investment insurances, I don't know, insurances for literally everything, right? Phone insurances, I mean, crazy amount of insurances you can have. And I know a lot of people that get sucked into that. They're feeling safe that they have an insurance. But ultimately, you have to ask yourself, an insurance company is just a company, right? They're basically running calculations, calculating how much they get paid by you versus how much they have to pay you out, right? I mean, if they keep on paying more out than they make, then they will lose money. And you have to ask yourself, how much would you be paying from your own pocket instead of receiving from the insurance eventually? And honestly, the hard truth, in many cases, you're probably better off just paying if something happens, at least for my case, right? And I'm also a big fan of having an emergency fund. So in case something really bad happens and I need to pay something that's not covered by insurance, well, I have the money available anyway. And in the meantime, the good thing is right now, in a high interest environment, I'm still making 5% on the money set aside. If I give the money to the insurance, it's just gone, right? It doesn't work for me in that way. And maybe if I need something, I can claim it. But in many cases, as I said, I had a really good private insurance with my former employer for I think the last 10 years or so. Private insurance, worldwide coverage. That was hundreds and hundreds of euros every single month. I mean, once again, good for me. I didn't use it. But at the same time, I felt like, oh my God, in a way I'm paying for that, or my company is, I want to benefit from it. Of course, I don't want to get a health benefit out of this, but you just have to ask yourself what is really crucial and what is really important. Really critically look at things like life insurance. I'm really not a big fan of that because honestly, I'm investing into my portfolio. If something, God forbid, happens, that portfolio would be given to my wife or other family members. You can easily write these things in a will. So these are much better ways because that way I'm in control of the money. I can grow it and multiply it and either pass it on to future generation or, as I said, to your spouse or whatever you have to do. And that way you're in control because once again, the insurance companies, I don't even know what kind of a return I'm getting out of this, right? So really blindly trusting them. People just often fall for the fear factor and then they just pay just to be safe. And I'm here to tell you, honestly, maybe reconsider your choices, really critically look at how much you claimed versus how much you're paying. And in many cases, you might be better off just paying out of your own pocket. The same with the health insurance. Now I took a really good one, but to upgrade to the full, where everything is covered, even medicine and so on, it was like humongously more amount rather than paying a little co-payment every time. Basically, if something happens, I pay a little bit out of my pocket and the rest is paid by insurance. That was significantly cheaper. And yeah, in the long term, these numbers really do add up, right? The next point has to do with new cars. Now, I was in a fortunate situation the last few years. As part of my job, I got a package that gave me a free car, so I never had to pay for petrol or the car, which is of course amazing. And yeah, I just got it and obviously that was nice. But now I'm in a situation where I'm starting my own company. I'm living between 2 places, Lithuania and Dubai. So obviously I do need a car, right? But in that case, for now, I've been renting only. But of course, I will eventually purchase a new car, especially in Dubai. New cars are quite expensive, to be honest. And honestly, I think it's really the worst thing because you lock up so much money. Obviously, I want to drive a nice car, right? I don't have to have a luxury, super fancy car, but I want to have a solid car like a BMW, Mercedes, whatever you, probably the German inside of me, but I want to have a nice car without having like a super nice latest model. And honestly, some people say I'm investing into my car, but that's not actually an investment, right? Because as soon as you pay the money, you leave out of the showroom. I mean, the car starts losing value every single day. So that's the exact opposite of an investment. It goes down in value versus your investments hopefully go up over time, right? So that's something I'm really not keen on paying money on. And in fact, I would always rather go for a second-hand car that's well maintained. Of course, you have to look around a little bit, but a car that's like 3-4 years old that already had a lot of the depreciation, the drop in price priced into the final price that you paid for, basically, that will help. Of course, I wouldn't want to buy a 20-year-old car, right? Because there you may have to pay more in repairs and what have you. So usually I would recommend that. Or if you live in a country where you have your own business, and there's a high taxation, leasing might be a very good option as well, because then you could write off some of those leasing expenses against your tax bill. So that makes sense as well. So then you don't even have to pay up a whole big amount in advance, right? I mean, for me, it's also the matter of freezing up so much money in a car that depreciates in value, right? Let's say you buy a car for 50,000 euros. It's just painful to lock it up over there because you can't use it for anything else. I like leverage, right? This 50,000 euros I could use for a down payment for a new apartment, let's say, and buy more real estate. That would be nice to do, right? For the last few months, I saved up a lot of cash sitting around, but at the same time, it got interest, and now I can use that money to buy furniture for our new apartment here in Vilnius. So that is a nice investment I'm happy with. But if I use the same amount of money that I saved up for so long, put it in a car, and it starts losing value, it's just painful to have. And yeah, as I said, in 2-3 years, that shiny new car is not so interesting anymore. You want to have a new car, you sell it at a loss of 20, 30, 40% in some cases. And then what, right? So that's really not a thing I'm too keen on, and definitely I would always prefer going for a used car. The next point might be very easy when you look at my clothing. In most of my videos, I'm really not a fan of designer clothes. Now, I have nothing against it. If people like it and want to treat themselves, by all means, go ahead. Again, I'm not judging on any of the points I'm sharing here. It's just my own feelings and thoughts about things. And yeah, for me, honestly, I just couldn't care less. I mean, in the past, I used to be a luxury general manager in a 5-star hotel. So of course, as part of the job, you want to look sharp, and I always had suits and what have you. But I eventually realized it's all about the person and how you come across rather than what you're wearing, right? Just because you're wearing fancy brands doesn't change anything about you, the person, right? And these days, I actually find it more off-putting when people wear these big brands, on their t-shirts or on the bags, all plastered over, showing how great they are. I'm just wondering, what's the point of it, right? You're paying thousands and thousands of dollars, euros, what have you, to impress somebody else. If you generally do it because you like the style or what have you, fair enough, no judgment here. But for me, it just doesn't give me anything. On the contrary, I would always be so nervous. I remember when I bought myself sometime a nicer bag, like a designer bag, and I was so scared to put it anywhere because I don't want it to be scratched and what have you. So I just thought to myself, I'm not actually enjoying wearing it. I don't like the feeling that it sends to other people that, might be judging you or not. Again, it shouldn't really matter to you what other people think, but I just didn't want to send that message anyways, right? And now when I look at some of the wealthiest people in the world, look at Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, the way they dress. I mean, often it's either gray shirts, black shirts, what have you, because they're very neutral, right? And it's also easy to wear. I can pair it with anything. This black shirt, which I wear most of the time. Obviously, I have a few, don't worry, it's not just one. But I love it. It's super nice quality, it's breathable, and it can look elegant if I wear it with nice white pants. But at the same time, it's sporty if I go out with shorts. So it's very versatile. I don't have to overthink what I'm wearing, what I'm pairing it with. And yeah, for me, it really works. And once again, it allows me to use that money instead of spending on designer clothes that really don't do much for me. I can instead invest it and grow my net worth. And that brings me to my next point. And that's on the opposite side, on the spectrum of fashion. So from designer clothes to actually fast fashion, right? Because a lot of people also think, I rather, instead of going to Gucci or Dior, I go to some cheap place, Primark or what have you. And that way I can buy some cheap stuff, but it's so cheap, so I can buy much more often and a lot more of it, right? I think that's also something I really don't enjoy. First of all, it's really cheap quality in many ways. So honestly, you're probably gonna be throwing it away way faster. And ultimately, you're going to spend more money because you have to buy more frequently. And lastly, once again, I'm really not a big shopper. Going in there, looking, trying on things, I couldn't care less. I want to do other things with my time. So I really don't enjoy that. Once again, spending the money on things that are also not sustainable, right? I mean, buying these things and throwing that away, I don't think it's particularly good for the environment also. Let's consider that. So yeah, honestly, that's not something I do. I want to have nice clothes, good quality from different brands that are stylish, but also timeless. So I don't have to chase the latest trends. I'm happy to spend money on it, not crazy money, but also not cheaping out and getting the cheapest stuff out there because you get what you pay for. The next one is actually a really big saving that I had since the beginning of the year, and that's stopping to spend money on alcohol. And that started actually off with a little challenge that I gave myself at the beginning of the year. A lot of people doing the dry January. I was one of them. I joined in after a heavy night at New Year's Eve. I said, okay, I'm gonna stop for 1 month. And honestly, that month went so easily that I thought to myself, well, why stop now, right? I mean, why do I have to start drinking now? And I was at the time in Dubai where alcohol is very expensive, to be honest. And also, yeah, in the past, obviously I tracked all my expenses and I saw alcohol was definitely one of the biggest expenses in there. And I thought to myself, also health-wise, it doesn't really give me much. I mean, sure, it's nice to have here and there a drink, but I thought, okay, let's continue another month. And here we are, end of May. So I will definitely do 1 year without alcohol. And yeah, just having stopped spending money on that actually saved me so much. It's crazy how expensive alcohol is these days. And by not drinking it, I've also seen so many other benefits. In addition to having more money to spend on other things, I just feel more vital. I'm less likely to skip on workouts. I have more energy, more clarity. And honestly, I love it. Again, I have no judgments for people drinking alcohol. And I'm not saying I'm never ever going to drink alcohol again in my life. But for this year, I will definitely challenge myself not to do it. And just the saving from that alone, I mean, it's unbelievable. Once again, if you really track your budget, which I honestly recommend you to do so, and if you want to get started, I have my free budget tracker that you can use down in the description below. So yeah, having cut this out from my budget, honestly, has been great for my health and for my wallet. The next one has to do with coffee. Now, I keep going back and forth between. In the past, I used to say, skip all your coffees because, that's wasting money away. But over time, I've also changed my stance on that a little bit because while I do believe coffee is definitely overpriced if you take it on the go. Sometimes when I go somewhere to a Starbucks or a very beautiful coffee place in Dubai, I've recently been working from so many different places, I find it very inspiring. So I almost invest more like the place where I'm sitting to work rather than the coffee itself. The coffee is like a byproduct in a way. So that way, I understand I pay a premium, but I get to work in a new, inspiring environment. And for me, that's worth the money, right? Because I get work done and that hopefully pays me more than I paid for the coffee. But what I'm not a fan of, paying on the go while you walk around, a coffee, again, in Starbucks, in Dubai, I paid for my coffee recently 7 to 8 euros per cup. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. So I'm definitely not saying that by starting to cut your Starbucks coffee, you'll become the next millionaire, right? A lot of people say that online. I think that's rubbish, right? But do the math. I mean, at 8 euros per day, that'd be 240 euros per month that I'll be spending on coffee. In a year, that would be 2,700 euros. So imagine that amount invested into the S&P 500 or something else over time. Once again, won't make you a millionaire overnight, but will definitely help you grow your net worth over time. So that's something to keep in mind. But again, it might be an indulgence. It might be a place for you to change, get some ideas, creativity to build your network. Then it's totally fine. Just be conscious about it. And now I definitely make more coffees at home. At home, I pay for coffee 50 cents. So at 10 coffees, that's 5 euros. Even that is still cheaper than one single coffee from Starbucks. So again, just something to keep in mind. I'm not judging anyone. I do often take a takeaway coffee for sure, but now I'm definitely doing that less and less, especially if I'm just bored on the go and want to walk around with a coffee. Then what I've recently done actually, when I leave the house and want to have a coffee on the go, I will actually make it at home in my coffee machine and take the cup with me and have it in my car or on the go. And honestly, often it actually tastes better and really those savings do add up over time. Next, probably most of you spend the most money on after rent, I suppose, and that's obviously food, right? And it's so easy these days. You can order everything on your phone, and I was a sucker for that. I mean, especially in Dubai, you can literally order anything you want. It is being delivered to you. All groceries, all food, whatever you want, 24/7. It's just so convenient and also dangerous because that way you keep on ordering whatever. Last time I was hungry, I ordered 2 bananas to the apartment and they brought it immediately. So that's just crazy to think about it. But now, once again, it's not just about the money, but also being conscious about your nutrition and your intake. So now I started cooking much more than I've done in the past. I never enjoyed cooking, but they have a great service called Hello Chef. But in other parts of the world, I think it's Hello Fresh. Basically, you choose your recipes online, what you want to eat, and they bring you tailored boxes for how many persons you are. I'm with my wife, so it's ingredients for 2 people. And basically, you get exactly the ingredients you need to cook the particular dish and with some instructions how to do it. It's super tasty, it's really fast, it's nutritious, it's super delicious, and I'm really saving money actually because I'm only buying what I need. First of all, I really never enjoyed going to the grocery shop and buying all these ingredients, and then you need some specialized, herbs and spices and what have you, looking for that, hunting for that, and it's always been a mess. But then often what ends up happening, you buy way too much, you put it in the fridge, and after a while it's expired, you throw it away. And I used to throw quite a lot of food, which is a painful thing to do. So now having such a service, I cook way more. I know what I'm eating, it's healthy and it's cheaper. So honestly, I really enjoy it. And that saved me quite a bit of money actually. The 8th point has to do with TV subscriptions. And honestly, I used to have them all. I used to have Amazon Prime, I used to have Netflix, Apple TV, I mean, you name it, I had all of them. And what happens, right? It's the same when you have chocolate in the fridge, eventually you're gonna eat it. If you have these services, well, guess what? Eventually you're gonna watch something. For me, more than the money, of course, they're also getting more expensive over time. I remember when I paid less than 10 euros for Netflix, now I believe it's close to 20 euros soon. So it's crazy. But same time for me, it's also the time drag. Because I don't know about you, but I used to binge all night some certain shows if I was really into it. I told myself to go to bed at midnight and then 2 a.m. comes around and I'm still there binging the latest episodes away. And for me, that was really the biggest drag, that it was keeping me away from valuable sleep and waking up fresh and early and energetic next morning. So that's why I really stopped all of them. And instead, what I'm doing is actually buying them on a need basis. So if there's a particular show that I really want to watch, for example, I'm a big F1 fan, so if a new season of Drive to Survive comes out on Netflix, I will pay for it, but I see it less as a subscription, more as a one-time purchase. Same way when you go to the cinema, right? You're not subscribing to the cinema, you're just making a one-time purchase to see a particular movie. And that's the same way how I see Netflix. Or whenever I travel, actually, I like to watch movies on the plane because most of the carriers, at least in Europe, they really don't have good entertainment system. So that way I can watch it on the go. I can download my Netflix shows that I want to watch and then watch them on the go, right? I would subscribe on the day, download the shows, I have them on the go, and literally right after unsubscribe. And that way for me, there's no temptations to stay subscribed. Obviously I'm saving some money, but also saving a lot of time that I don't dedicate to watch movies. Instead, I can dedicate to being with my family, with my wife, with my dog, working on my business and enjoying life. So I'm not interested to spend money on things that make me spend even more time behind the screen. And in case you're not tracking your subscriptions yet, then definitely check out my subscription tracker, which I use myself. You can see here all the various subscriptions that I have. You can see the amount is close to 1,000 euros that I spend in a month. But that way I really stay on top what is happening when I'm being charged. I can even see it in the calendar. Here I can see all the upcoming charges, when something will charge me. So then I can see, do I want to cancel or not? I even have all my canceled over here. Things that I used to be subscribed to, now no longer. So it's easy to reactivate them if I wanted to. So yeah, really powerful tool that I'm using. So if you want to get it, you find my link down in the description below and you can get it free of charge. And the last one is about extended warranties. Now we've all been there. We buy shiny new product, new phone, fridge, what have you. And before paying, they always ask you, would you like to extend the warranty? And you know, it's so tempting, right? Because you think, okay, you have maybe 1 year warranty, but what if I keep it for 4 or 5 years? I still want to have the warranty. And once again, it goes back to the first point of insurance, of having the feeling of safety, right? If something happens, I'm secured. Now, first of all, let me ask you, how many years on average do you keep electronic devices? Many of us actually change it constantly. For myself, I know I'm maybe a little bit too extreme, but I change my phone every single year because I use it so much. I want the latest, greatest. I want to take nice pictures, to have memories. I work a lot with it, so I want to have the latest one. So for me, there's no point to extend any warranty. Same with a washing machine, right? I mean, it's unlikely that I'm going to keep it for 10 years. And if I do keep it for 10 years, if there needs to be a repair, I'm just going to get it repaired. And then I'll see if the repair is cheaper than buying a new one. And then I decide then and there. But having a warranty, many times in 10 years, so many things happen. Maybe the company doesn't even exist anymore. Having to remember where all the warranties are saved, having to keep track of the warranty paper itself, right? Have to store it somewhere and follow and track and which device has which warranty. And honestly, I just don't see myself doing that. So that way I rather save the money. And then if something happens, once again, I either pay for it or buy a new one and upgrade the device, which often naturally happens anyways. So yeah, it's a nice way for them to make extra money on you because once again, very often those companies, they pay less to you than they make from you. So for me, it saved me a lot of money every time I said no to an extended warranty. And yeah, definitely something to consider for your next purchase. So there you have it, 9 things that I'm actively avoiding on buying. And that actually saved me a lot of money that I can then use to put towards my investments to start growing my net worth over time. But I'm interested to hear from you. What are the things that you stop buying? Let me know down in the comments below. Next up, check out this video here. As always, thanks a lot for watching. Stay healthy, get wealthy, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.